Give this man some fucking love, baby. Let's go. Mr. Dan, how are you, bro?
Nice to meet you.
Likewise. Good to meet you. How are you?
Good.
Hey, you can have this.
Hop in here?
Yeah, hop in. This is the setup right here. We got the chat. It's a little distracting, but I'll try not to. I got a water for you.
Nice. Oh, wow. Great.
How are you, man?
Good, good.
You been good?
Yeah.
I just made a cast. All right, we gotta talk about this, dude. I've been gone. We gotta talk about this.
Yeah, a lot of people were upset.
I know. I was a little. Were you upset?
I'm not upset.
So about like, I don't know, 6, 7, my last cast was like 5 months ago. So I think I found Farcaster like 10 months ago, maybe. And I had known about it, I knew about like lens, I like kind of knew what was going on, didn't pay much attention. D's pilled me to get into Farcaster. And then once I joined, I was like, I was hooked. Like I was like, this is it. I had like a 2-month obsession, honestly, where I couldn't do anything but listen to your interviews. Bankless 1 and Bankless 2 in particular were like some of the best. And I got hooked on it because I think that honestly what really pulled me in was frames. I thought frames was one of the coolest things I've ever seen on social media. Mint NFTs, one click, warps, like a game changer. And then listening to you talk about it, it's like, okay, like, you get it. Like you're incredibly based. You just like know what's going on. And then DGen happened, which was insane. I want to get your take on that a little bit as well, which was crazy. That was like a very interesting time. I can imagine a little bit of a weird time.
Yeah.
On DGen Mayhem, and it was like, oh, this is it. I was like fully pilled. And then I would imagine with a lot of people, things like slowed down a little bit. Stuff started going crazy on Twitter, and it's hard to do both. It is honestly hard to do both. And I kind of just got like back in the Twitter, went like a day without casting for the first time, then went like 3 days, and I went like a week. And then I kind of just like tunnel vision back to Twitter. And I've been going for a while, but it's pretty clear that you have like found, this is what impresses me about you, is you've like found a way every single time to just like chip away at it, few more core users. And now it feels like there's an entire like base / AI season that's like happening, and it all happens on Farcaster.
Yeah, it's starting to pick back up.
And so you're here now. I've wanted to do this for a while. We talked about doing this a while ago.
We did, yeah.
And you're back. So I don't know. That's my lore, my Farcaster. I'm excited to talk to you today. Like how the last like 3-6 months been?
Ups and downs. Yeah. So I think you captured it pretty well. We had a lot of growth at the beginning of the year, right? Frames, DGen, and then kind of the air came out of the balloon a bit in terms of people's excitement. It was like, okay, well, what's next?
Yeah, what's next?
There wasn't a next thing, and so naturally there was some shiny new thing on Twitter. People head back there. But I think the team has been heads down, just like focusing on, all right, like how do we make frames better? How do we make the underlying social network better? How do we make it so that if you forget to cast for a day, we like remind you to come back, right? Like you get out of the habit.
Yeah, you do.
And then you're like, oh, I don't want to look like I was out for a week.
I have this. It's weird.
It's like a mental block.
It's a mental block.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna cast, and like Dan's gonna like it. It's gonna be awkward. Like it's like when you don't text your friend back for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I missed it already.
But I'm one of those good friends that just responds back with the DM. I'm happy if you come back 6 months later, 2 years later. You know, anytime people come back to Farcaster, I'm happy.
So what would you say the state of Farcaster is right now? Was it November 26, 2024?
Yeah. So I think we're kind of back to where we were in January, March. Okay. February was like peak.
Yeah.
And I think we are starting to see an uptick in new signups. I think to your point, I think there is more interest now in stuff happening on chain with Ethereum. I think that was earlier in the year, and then things I think shifted over very much to Solana. Yeah. And I think you're starting to see stuff pick back up on base, and a lot of that stuff is coming as a result of.
Why is that? Like Farcaster feels like an extension of base. Like anything that happens on base happens on Farcaster. Like what's the tie in there? Yeah,
so what's funny is Farcaster, the little bit we are on chain, we're not even on base. But I would give Jesse credit. I worked with Jesse at Coinbase. Okay. When we launched Frames, he jumped on it really fast and was really fast to kind of like build out some developer tooling to kind of like make it easy that if you're going to build a frame, you're going to do that on base. And frankly, no one else has taken that opportunity. It's like kind of there for the taking, and Jesse jumped on it. And
he's a Chad.
Yeah, I mean, he's committed. He's grinding every day, right? So I think we are kind of closely aligned with Base, but it's very much because they've invested in Farcaster early. Like, they were one of the first ones to have a channel. They're the biggest channel on Farcaster. Mm-hmm. Jesse personally used it. Zora is another one. Like Jacob, I also worked with
Zora's
Coinbase.
Sick.
Yeah.
Oh, he worked at Coinbase?
Yeah, there's a bunch of ex-Coinbase people.
There's like a Coinbase mafia thing going on here?
I don't like that term because I think the PayPal mafia is pretty impressive, and it's like kind of cringe to like compare yourself to a group of people that are like really, really successful. But there are a lot of ex-Coinbase people. Brian and Fred hired a bunch of, like, I would say, pretty entrepreneurial people, and there's a bunch of people building that like kind of learned a lot of stuff at Coinbase that they're trying to apply that to whatever they're doing. And obviously Jesse's still at Coinbase.
Yeah, he's cooking. I really like. I got to meet him at ETH Denver. What does okay? How do you, as a founder, deal with the hyper like incentivized growth that happened with when Degen was the blow off the top for Farcaster, like the initial local top.
Yeah,
called definitely a local top that like brought a lot of people in, and then a lot of the people came in for Degen only. They're like, there's a money opportunity here. I want money. We're gonna come here for Degen, and then I don't know, whatever happened. They just made some mistakes. Whatever. It was a short term thing, and then as Degen left, like a lot of people left. Like, how do you like that had to like feel a little weird. Like there's like a little hole. Like, how do you like deal with that?
Yeah, I think one thing. 4 years building Farcaster, I've watched. 4 years. Yeah, so I've watched 90% corrections happen both at Coinbase and then at Farcaster, and so this is not my first rodeo. I think it's tough, like mentally, to kind of have the like thinking it's working, and then 3 weeks later it feels all of a sudden that it's not. I think that the most important thing though is like the core community on Farcaster has felt pretty stable actually now for a year and a half to 2 years, and so even with the big fluctuations in growth, like there's a core group of people, several thousand people that show up every day and are posting interesting stuff. Like, people on Twitter would call it like Christian rap or like cringe LinkedIn content, and I mean like there's definitely some of that, but I think that the
Christian rap is crazy.
Yeah, I mean whatever you want to call it, but I think the reality is that we're pretty builder centric, so there's a lot of people who are kind of like doing startups and coming up with NFT projects or whatever, and having that be the core of the network means that with all the kind of like developer Legos, the shit that you can actually program, whenever we release something new, people start to play around with it, or if they see some new meta on Twitter, that they can easily do that on Farcaster, right? And so a lot of this like AI stuff happened on Twitter and then has kind of spilled into Farcaster, but it's gone in a new direction on Farcaster, and then naturally, because everyone has a crypto wallet, like you can do stuff that you can't do on Twitter.
This is one of the reasons, and we'll talk about it a lot. I had probably like 2 weeks ago, I had like a lot of people that I respect DM me and be like, dude, like you're talking about AI, how the fuck are you ignoring AI on Farcaster right now? And I wasn't I wasn't ignoring it, but Malcolm back there, we'll talk to him at some point, has been like, these base coins. There's a lot going on we'll touch on. Why does Vitalik post on Farcaster so much?
I think
And what's your relationship with Vitalik?
So I had never met him. He came and spoke once at Coinbase in 2016 when.
What does that look like?
People were still calling ETH an altcoin, right? Because we were a Bitcoin company, and he like came. So like you're talking to like a Bitcoin pilled company in 2016, and he's like this guy. He's like, Ethereum. Olaf actually was the one who brought him in. And everyone's just kind of like at the lunch table, like there's this like random guy talking about this.
He was
like,
in person?
Yeah, like.
And you guys
like people were like, whatever. And there are obviously some people who had bought into the ETH pre-sale, but obviously I don't think it had really.
Were you in the ETH pre-sale?
I did not buy into the ETH pre-sale.
Was it offered to you?
Well, it was offered to everybody. You could just send Bitcoin.
Oh, okay, valid. Yeah.
So, but we added ETH later that year though to Coinbase, and that was like a big shift for us. Yeah, because we were a Bitcoin company. There's like all this drama in China with Bitcoin mining.
Okay. And all you can do is buy and sell Bitcoin on Coinbase.
Only thing you could do on Coinbase is buy and sell Bitcoin.
Is it an app or no?
Yeah. Well, actually, we didn't even have a mobile app for a while.
Really?
It was like only a website. Yeah. Because Apple kicked us out of the App Store for 2 years. But we got back on, and then we added Ethereum, then we added Litecoin, which that was
number 3.
Yeah. there's a backstory there. I could save it for off stream.
Okay.
But and then we didn't add another asset for like a whole year.
Really?
Yeah, because it was like internal. It was like there was no Gary Gensler, but people were afraid of the SEC and all this kind of stuff. And then Balaji comes in the next year and kind of just like blows apart the like internal politics to like add assets.
Really?
Yeah, and he's like, we have to
what was the rationale?
It would be like the equivalent of Google not indexing every website. It's like you have to have every asset. And obviously Coinbase doesn't have every asset, but it was like a culture change.
So he like came in and was like, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Who was he before Coinbase?
He had earn.com.
Okay.
So that was like again, he was originally a Bitcoin mining company, and then it turned into this kind of like Earn Bitcoin company.
And he was a CTO of Coinbase.
And then he sold Earn to Coinbase, was there for a year, and then now is doing.
He's only there for a year.
Yeah, accomplished a lot in 1 year.
Whoa.
Yeah. So now he's on the internet.
What does he do now?
Networks.
Comes to your Comes to your podcast.
Yeah, MOZ comes on.
How often do you do that?
I'm on hiatus right now. So you're only getting me on your podcast. Like that's like if it's on Farcaster, I'll do the podcast.
Really?
I'll do MLZ at some point in the future.
Why are you on hiatus? You're just focusing on other stuff.
Just like locked in.
Okay, so you met Vitalik, and so that's when you met Vitalik, 2016.
Well, no, I didn't even know who I was, and I didn't really know who he was. So when we started working on Farcaster, 2021, basically went a whole year without having introduced. We famously don't go to conferences. Maybe that's a mistake. Maybe I should be going to every ETH conference and shaking
for
hands.
Farcaster or for
just
Coinbase?
I went to a bunch for Coinbase. I used to run business development there, amongst other things.
Okay,
and so I just found most conferences are kind of like
or a waste, right?
Yeah,
super waste.
But anyways, so I haven't done it with Farcaster, and so I just kind of sit in my office and work, and so I don't have a chance to meet these people. And then someone introduced us in 2022. So he joined in November 2022, 2 years ago, which was like our biggest.
How'd you get him to join?
That person who introduced, I forget exactly who, on Signal, and it was like, okay, here's like, send him that. At that point, it was still invite only. He joined. It was like our biggest DAO day ever. It's like something like, I don't know, 4,000 DAO. And
it was like insane.
It was like insane. It's like, oh, this is going crazy. And then it was interesting. He just kept using Farcaster. And he uses, Lens and a couple other things, but like ultimately, I think Vitalik is pure. Like he cares about decentralization and he cares about using software. There's actually a lot of people in ETH who like, they talk big game about decentralization and like, whatever highbrow thing, and then they keep using Twitter, which is fine. It makes sense. Like they have an audience there.
How do you wake up every day and compete with Twitter?
Chip away, baby. Like just. A user here, a user there.
Like that's got to be like daunting.
Yeah, I would have told you a year ago, like if I could just be 10x as big a year from now, I'd be happy, and that's where we are. And ups and downs with that, but yeah, it's just if you're getting into the decentralized social media business and like building protocol, like you have to be willing to confront that.
Yeah.
And like Twitter's not even the like actual final boss, right? It's like Meta, YouTube, like TikTok, like Telegram. Like those are like actual apps that,
Wow, you don't even think Twitter's the final boss?
I think Twitter has shed a lot of its users, right? Like a ton of those users have gone to Threads and Blue Sky. So it's a little bit more fragmented. Not crypto Twitter users, but a lot of people
using Blue Sky?
I mean, they've had like 10 million people sign up since the election.
Are they actually using it, or they just like make a statement on Twitter and then like go to Blue Sky?
That could also be the case. Yeah. I can't verify, but I do think that the way to think about this stuff though is like the actual, and this is broader for crypto, is like onboard normies, like the next billion people, whatever meme you want to say, like those people are on Instagram and TikTok and it's like the whole meta that happened recently on Solana, where it's like one coin got viral on TikTok. Right. So that whole thing happened as a result of just like going viral on one of these platforms, and right. So it's like that's actual scale, and I think like where X is right now, I would imagine there's actually a huge amount of algo deboost for crypto stuff. Like,
really?
Yeah, because I think if I was to guess, Elon gets really annoyed by all the crypto spam in his replies.
You think so?
Oh yeah, because I do a decent amount of like kind of like marketing bull posting on X, and so I kind of see what posts do well on the algo from a like to view ratio. Links obviously don't go, but like certain words, like you mentioned Ethereum, like you're gonna get an algo deboost. Like obviously if you get something that's truly a banger, it can like break through it, but like your baseline, you're just gonna get crushed a lot. that stuff. That's why it's like most of the slop that is in the feed now is like images or videos, because it's like time spent, and it's like hard for the algo to actually know like kind of like.
Oh yeah, like
so there's like a lot of hacking that you can kind of do to the algo if you're just posting videos and images.
How big is the team at Farcaster?
14.
It's kind of bigger, yeah.
Yeah. So
all developers?
Yeah, we have one designer. The rest is
one designer, all devs.
All devs. Yeah.
What do you think is like the edge of Farcaster?
Small team, willing to kind of like zig and zag, right? Like we're now kind of leaning, I think, more heavily into on-chain stuff. So we did that actually initially in 2021, 2022. Like we had this whole like NFT feed, stuff that people now would just like not even know that we had. And then, you know, you hit like market bottom with FTX and there's just like nothing happening. And so we ripped that stuff out of the app. It was just like waste of space. We actually still, it's kind of like the tailbone. It's like the NFT tab on people's profiles doesn't even exist on web. It only exists on mobile. Like that was like literally added in the bull market of 2021. It's like people are like investing in chain runners and like all this other crazy stuff. Like
chain runners, what the fuck?
Right. So all of that, it like we threw out that whole part of the app. And now like maybe that there's like a component that's starting to make more sense to bring back. But there's actually a bunch of apps in the ecosystem like Interface. Have you ever checked out Interface?
No.
It's actually pretty cool. It's like, so it's an app. It's like think of like a social block explorer. But the thing is you can just get like push notifications for anything someone does on chain.
Oh, really?
And so Vitalik bought a coin recently and a bunch of people followed him on Interface. And so like what was in the screenshot like of everyone in feed was like, oh, Vitalik bought this coin. Right.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So interface.social, that one's pretty cool. There's one that's in like beta called Friends. Okay. And that I think will be big this cycle. Like they're getting close to
what is Friends?
Launch. It's like a chat app, but it has like deeply integrated trading features into it. So this is like, think Telegram if it was like crypto native. And so those are two apps, both in the kind of like Farcaster ecosystem. Like they use like Farcaster data and like rich their data like for their app. But
I still think Frames is the coolest thing ever.
Well, Frames has a new version launching tomorrow.
No way.
Yeah.
What is it?
Frames V2.
How does it work?
So think like Telegram mini apps. Yeah. Like remember how like basic like V1 frames were like when they first came out? It's like you click in the feed. It's like okay, this is kind of cool. Whatever. Yeah. Frames V2, you can just like launch any app you want. Like we could have a live streaming app in Frames V2.
Really?
Yeah. But you have like a really nice.
You could like view it in the feed.
View it in the feed, and then the nice thing is you can actually install it into Workcast. So you could like go back and check it out, and then the Frame developer can actually send you notifications. So you'd be able to be like going live, going live, and then then you're using the Workcast app to actually push, the notifications out.
How do you feel that like Solana like stole Frames?
Blinks?
Yeah.
Anyone use Blinks?
No.
Yeah. So there you go.
That was a Farcaster rip.
Well, I actually
right?
So I didn't want to throw shade because people building, that's good. So I actually did like a encrypted kind of like post. It said in 90 days I'll reveal it, and I just was like, no one's going to use this because it doesn't work on.
It doesn't work.
Right? You can actually get it to work on web.
But like I'm not using Twitter on the web.
Yeah, exactly. So 90% of Twitter usage is mobile. So if it doesn't work,
can you do frames on Twitter like properly?
If Twitter wanted to support frames, sure. Like if Twitter wanted to support frames or blinks, they could go do it tomorrow. You just got to convince Elon. I think he's kind of busy. But I think the power of Farcaster frames is, yes, the app is smaller, the network is smaller, but because the app actually natively supports it in a feed, it doesn't deboost links, and it's directly connected to your crypto wallet. That
do you think Elon tries to buy you at some point?
I don't think so.
No?
He has a pretty big history of just not buying, like not acquiring companies.
Why?
Just thinks he can outcompete them. I mean, he kind of has a track record of doing it.
That's wild.
Whereas like Facebook is like really good about like
they just buy shit, yeah.
But they're not going to buy us. Like they were able to boot Threads up to compete with Twitter. So it's like, dude, the thing is if you've got 100 million followers on Instagram, you now translate that immediately onto Threads. They're going to keep chipping away.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
Do you think about them?
They are the biggest competitor. Like you don't want the eye of Zuck looking at you. Absolutely not. They've already added a following feed, like because Blue Sky was getting growth. Within a week, they're now testing all these features that Blue Sky had. Like I mean, Snapchat was like on this like crazy rise, and then they just copied stories for Instagram and like killed Snapchat.
Wow. Yeah.
So they're
Telegram has
ruthless.
stories.
Telegram. Everyone kind of has stories now. Yeah. I mean, like you don't want to compete with Meta. Meta will beat you. Like they acquired a VPN company just so they could spy on internet traffic of their competitors.
Really?
Yeah, and they were giving away a free VPN for a while just so they could see like, okay, what's the new up and coming Snapchat so we can go crush that. Like, they're ruthless.
Whoa. Have you ever met Duck?
One time.
Really?
Yeah.
Where? Like when?
At a wedding.
Was he cool?
Yeah, I mean, he's legit.
Damn, you met him? That's crazy.
Yeah. It was in his like new era too, where he's kind of like
cool Zuck?
Yeah, cool Zuck.
What do you think of the rebrand?
It's pretty good. I mean, it was pretty bad before that, like him in front of Congress was like sipping the water and shaking. Yeah. Now he's like kind of like MMA, cool. Kind of got the same vibe going right here.
Chad, does Zuck look like me? That's hilarious. So Facebook, you think about Facebook more than, or Meta more than...
Well, I'm focused on just like, can I grow?
Yeah.
Like the one to actually worry about is Facebook. Like any good feature or anything, like Facebook can go actually do.
How does Base beat Solana?
I think 100 million Coinbase accounts directly connected into a blockchain.
It's crazy, right?
Pretty good advantage, right? Like Phantom, amazing app, amazing execution, top of the app store type thing.
It's the best.
But that's not even close to the 100 million.
And they just had
accounts.
a base.
Yeah, and then they added base. So that's its own. You know, they can kind of play both. But my point is like any Coinbase user can just like use base immediately, and it can be the default. Like you want to withdraw like your USDC, it's gonna be on base.
How many users does Coinbase have?
100 million KYC accounts at least. I think that's like that's an insane like moat. I don't think people appreciate that in crypto because all of those accounts can go directly into the blockchain. It's not like, oh, you have to like apply to like get special access. Like you could be in whatever asset on any decentralized exchange on any chain directly from Coinbase. And so that tight coupling of Coinbase and Base, if you were asking me like why do they win, and then obviously like Jesse is kind of like a founder level employee, which is very hard for a big company to have. And you know he's grinding the same way that any startup founder would be doing, and then he's hiring a really good team there. And so the types of teams that they're like quietly acquiring behind the scenes also is like, oh shit, they're stacking up talent. Yeah. He also is running Coinbase Wallet now.
I saw that.
So think about it as like
use Coinbase Wallet. That's the first crypto wallet.
Yeah, but think about like fast forward a year from now, it's like Coinbase
though.
Wallet is going to be like I think much more tightly coupled to like what you can do on Base. And so rather than this kind of like index of like make it work on all these different chains, it'll probably work on other Ethereum chains and maybe Solana, Bitcoin, whatever, but the best experience will be with Base. And so that's not only do they have Coinbase.com, but now they're going to have their own wallet. So like I think that distribution, that ecosystem will be pretty powerful.
Do you think Base has to beat Solana at like the degen meme coin pump fund thing, or they win on like...
No, I think the market will get big enough overall. Like, I think there's a world where Base and Solana both are successful. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Solana is already successful, but I think right now there's a little bit of zero sum of like, okay, the only thing people for the most part are doing on chain is like meme.
Well, I just don't feel like there's that many people still.
Right. So that's the other problem is like the size of crypto is kind of small, but I do think like. My personal belief is that Bitcoin will be the thing that drives this cycle. Yeah. And when Bitcoin goes really high, it will pull everything else forward. And then as a result, like people will have money for NFTs again, and then
people are buying art again.
I mean, look at CryptoPunks are up 60,000 to 130,000 since the election. So like,
you have a punk?
I have one punk. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got.
Why does Brian Armstrong wear a fake punk?
I've given him that feedback.
What is that?
I wish I had screenshotted the text message and be like, dude,
what is that?
You know. You have a pretty nice house, like you have a good IPO, like maybe time to buy a real pump.
Yeah, what is that? Okay,
but he's also kind of pure. He just like doesn't like he's just like focused on like like winning the election, right? Like the crypto policy in the United States is going to change as a result of like Coinbase spending a lot of money in Ohio and in Montana. Like ignore the presidential election, like that. Like Coinbase spent a ton of money to try to get these like anti-crypto senators out. And
Sherrod Brown.
Yeah. Good riddance.
Okay, how long did you work at Coinbase?
5 years.
What years?
2014 to 2019. So I was employed 20.
You were employed 20 at Coinbase? That is... What did you do before Coinbase?
I worked at a smaller startup for a year.
Crypto or no?
No, it was like an iPad registration software company. And then I was a management consultant, which is brutal 2 years, but I learned a lot. Management
consultant. And so you were just like buying Bitcoin and you were like, oh, I should apply for Coinbase?
No, Fred was a college friend.
I don't really know Fred.
Fred's cool.
What's his last name?
Ursum.
Okay. And what is what?
So he lived across the hall from me junior year.
Where?
Duke.
Okay, Duke.
And so from that, we stayed in touch. And then when he was working with Brian, and they just like raised their Series A from Fred Wilson at USV, this is like 2013. He's like, hey, we're trying to like hire like a generalist employee. Yeah. And I was like leaving.
Generalist employee.
Like whatever. Like, you know, like do customer support, like, you know, order the food. Like we just need someone to help, right? Yeah. Like we have a lot of growth. And I was just like, Bitcoin, Ponzi scheme. Like, no thanks.
Oh, you're not.
Yeah. So I like went and worked at a SaaS company for a year. But I show up to San Francisco and it's like every engineer, all they want to do is talk about Bitcoin.
Is it 2013?
This is like 2013. And it's like, oh man, Bitcoin. And I'm like, what? And so then I finally actually read the white paper. So it's like, oh, this is actually kind of cool.
This is cool, yeah.
Started to click. So I bought my first Bitcoin in 2013. It was like probably like fall of 2013.
How much was it?
It's really sad. I think I bought like in it, I want to say it was like 100 or 120.
Oh man!
And then the worst part is I sold it at 300.
No.
And I thought I was George Soros. I was like, oh man, like 2x, like you know, or 3x, like I'm you know,
investor.
Like, I'm an investor.
Him, yeah.
Yeah, that one's tough. It worked out, but I think like yeah. So then a year later, basically, I applied and I like took my first job was trying to get merchants to accept Bitcoin payments. It's like Dell.com, like, dude, you're getting a Dell, and it's like you can pay with Bitcoin. Or Budweiser had a concert series across the U.S., and you could pay for a beer. And
people still don't really do that, do they?
No, but stablecoins, I think, are going to.
Did you think that was going to be the thing?
Yeah, it was.
Like,
in retrospect, super stupid.
Yeah, like buy a pack of gum in Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's like you want a tax liability. Yeah. It's like highly volatile. It takes 10 minutes to confirm. Yeah. I mean, whatever. But you make dumb decisions when you're young.
What was it? 2014. I was 12. What was it like working at? What was it like at Coinbase 2014?
I mean, it was pretty stacked. Like the group of people that were there.
Like Unreal, right?
Yeah, and it was also like pretty weird and fringe. Like to work at a Bitcoin company in 2014. Did you know? Like I was for sure one of the most square, other than the compliance officer and the lawyer, I was like the most square person at the company.
Really?
Yeah, just like what kind of person is interested in Bitcoin? And like it was like the only association Bitcoin had was Silk Road and Mt. Gox. It's like there was zero positive anything. Yeah.
Did you like know in 2014? Like
no. For the first 2 years, it was just like completely sideways to down. And most people, like we were up to 50 people in 2014, and half of those people basically left on their own. Fired. They quit. They just were like, this company's going nowhere. Like selling their equity on like the secondary market for like pennies, basically.
No.
Yeah. So the company probably was like a 400 million valuation, and these people, if they had held it to the IPO, would have had like 100 billion. So that's like, you know,
a lot of X's.
Yeah, 200x. Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty grim. And then in 2017, we go into the year. And we were like hoping to make like 10 million in revenue. Yeah. Like we had added Ethereum in 2016. Yeah. We were excited. And it's because the previous year we'd done about 10 million in revenue. And then in 2017, that was when Bitcoin, you know, like mooned really for the first time. We did $1 billion in revenue.
You're trying to do 10 million?
We were trying to do 10 million. We did 300 million in revenue just in the month of December. It was like insane. Like craziest year of my life.
2017?
And then after 2017, I was like, okay, crypto's gonna work.
You were living in SF?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like euphoric? Like what was the vibe?
Oh yeah, it was crazy. And then it's like you tell someone you worked at Coinbase, they would like then immediately want like it's like the customer support requests and all stuff, which was reporting to me and it was a complete disaster.
Was there an office?
Yeah.
So and you worked in the office?
Everyone was in the office.
And people were just like losing it?
Yeah, people weren't leaving the office. It just like it like smelled of like human, like, you know, people were there for like days at a time without leaving.
Whoa.
And then in 2018, the market crashed, but we had raised money and then we had like brought in this like professional exec team, and it was like kind of like knife fight politics. You know,
really?
Like adults now are in the room.
Yeah.
Biology then came in and kind of like cleared out the bad people. That was actually really.
Wait, what is that? What do you mean he came in and cleared out the bad people?
He just like out argued them with like memos.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Is he nuts? Like what's his vibe?
He's pretty intense.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a really smart guy. He's like fully committed. Like he is committed to crypto as anybody. But yeah, he came in and he was just like, who are these like non-technical people who have opinions? Like I'm gonna, you know.
Non-technical people that have opinions is hilarious.
Well, I mean, that was the culture of the company, but like we brought in these execs and they were, for the most part, I would agree, wrong. So Biology was the only one able to convince Brian that they were wrong.
So he like saved Coinbase?
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty important role in kind of redirecting Coinbase to where they are now. I mean, there are obviously a lot of people that contributed to that.
What were you doing during that? Just listening?
I had taken over the consumer business.
Okay.
So
Like?
Well, it was just like Coinbase.com. So I was in charge of like all the retail.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like everyone on Farcaster doesn't think I understand about like retail.
So
yeah,
you had like
I see you on the live stream. You don't think I know about retail. Like, with your first Bitcoin or ETH, you probably bought it from me.
Whoa. So you had like a fucking big wig role.
Yeah,
That's big time.
I was in the room where it
right.
happened there. Yeah, people, whatever. It's ancient history at this point. But yeah, so I've been around in crypto for a long time. 10 years this year.
You probably saw some insane shit those years of Coinbase.
Yep. Yeah, and there were some like weird, like crazy liabilities at one point.
Oh, okay. Give me the distraction.
You want to ask a question?
Yeah. I've always wondered this. How do big institutions and exchanges store the private keys to like hundreds of millions, billions of dollars? Like, what's the security?
And where do they hide it?
Yeah, I think there's a blog post Coinbase did about this. It's like pretty crazy. Like Coinbase's security team is insanely cracked. Like one thing that the company did starting in 2014 is like the only role you could get paid like insanely well at Coinbase relative to just like a startup was security. Cause it's
really?
like, yeah, security people, like you just have to like get them. And obviously securing like billions, which now is hundreds of billions of dollars worth of crypto is like, that's the coolest security challenge on the planet for the most part. Other than maybe like the nuclear.
I've never even thought about that.
Yeah. So they generate the private keys for cold storage in a Faraday cage because they're worried about like state level actors like trying to like intercept like the CPU within the laptop. Like it is like crazy level security to generate the like core cold storage system. And I'm sure they've evolved it since, but like that's super locked down. And then once they do that, that's like geographically distributed all over the world. And there's something called Shamir secret sharing, which allows you to like break up keys all over the world. But like it's like intense. And then they obviously have their whole custody business. But the reason the custody business works so well is they have to do this for the retail business, right? The retail business has hundreds of billions of, or at that peak, 200 billion or something of like Bitcoin and ETH and other stuff.
What does like head of security at Coinbase make?
I think he does really well.
Damn.
Yeah, and he keeps a low profile. He's not.
You can't like know who he is, right?
On Twitter.
You like not.
He like you can find out who he is, but like
not easy.
You wouldn't want to mess with him either. He's a pretty serious dude.
It's the same guy for like a while.
He's still there, yeah.
No way.
What's the main thing that Coinbase did to like set themselves apart like early on? Like which like innovation or decision do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious one is, which now seems obvious, but the company was very okay with actually getting regulated, and so went and spent the time to like do things by the book. And I actually worked on a bunch of this stuff. It's just like I manage all the bank relationships. So the reason you can move a dollar,
bank relationship.
Yeah, so you can move $1 into Coinbase, from whatever your bank account or your.
So you're like
debit
talking
card.
to like the execs, like Bank of America and shit.
Yeah, they all rejected us, so we ended up with much smaller banks in these like weird places. I've been to like I want to say I went to like 20 different states in these like really podunk banks, like random place in Pennsylvania. Yeah, and then in Europe as well. So I did the international expansion for a while too. The Coinbase stuff is like it's like old war stories at this point because now it's just all professionalized, right?
All right, last Coinbase question. We'll move on. What do you think is like the best thing that you learned at Coinbase to help you like build Farcaster?
Yeah, so I wrote a blog post about this. Coinbase's pragmatic crypto culture, and I think Coinbase does a good job of straddling like ideological stuff. Like it's like really easy in crypto to just like be like, oh, this needs to be crazy decentralized and open source and whatever, like user controlled, kind of like think like Bitcoin ethos.
Yeah.
And then there's like the like pure mercenary, like I don't care, I just want to have like extractive value. Yeah. And I think Coinbase blends the two culturally, internally, but also just like make good decisions that are like start with good user experience, but also allow like there's like a bunch of decisions Coinbase could have made where it's like lock down the crypto that you buy and like you can't send to the blockchain and it doesn't actually help grow like the on-chain
but they split the difference.
Yeah, and it's actually like very easy. There are a couple of points in the history of the company where that would have been a very easy out to just be like, okay, we'll limit the amount of crypto you can take off Coinbase. And for the most people who buy crypto, they would have been fine with that. Yeah. But it would have actually really hurt crypto overall. And Coinbase was willing to like take arrows in the back, publicly and privately, from like federal regulators basically to do that. So that's like a good example of the pragmatism of like still focus on building good user experience and like.
Have you had to make any of those decisions at Farcaster?
I think that a lot of just like trying to focus on just like making Warpcast as easy as possible to use, rather than like, you know, people are like, oh, you shouldn't have Warpcast, it should just be Farcaster.
Wait, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why is it called Warpcast?
Well, one of the things that we tried to do is we started with Farcaster as the name of the app, but then it was like, oh, well, that's unfair advantage for the core team to have it.
Yeah.
And so in retrospect, I probably might have not changed it and wait to do it later or something. But we did out of like trying to actually be a little bit more ideological. And that arguably was maybe a little less pragmatic than like just keep it easy. Because then you would just say, hey, yo, download Farcaster. That's really easy to say versus you got to get on Farcaster first, go on Warpcast. And
people are like, wait, what?
But like, here's a pragmatic thing. So our homepage for Farcaster, we just like say download the app. Like
Farcaster.com or what?
Farcaster.xyz, but just like download the app and we put our thing there. And then there are people who are like, oh, you should put all the clients. And I'm just like, you know, like, you know,
one of the,
at some point when the ecosystem is bigger, it probably makes sense. But for most people, they just want the easiest way to onboard, and that is Warpcast. So, you know, give and take. Like, I actually don't know where I quite fall in terms of like what was the right call, but it was the call.
It was a call.
Yeah.
Is this? Can you tell me the story about calling every like the first 100 users or whatever?
So it was like roughly 400 users.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
Well, I call it like I knew about 100 people of that, and like I you know, just ping people, DM on Twitter, text message, signal groups type thing, and be like, hey, can I onboard you to this thing? Do 15 minutes, do a big Calendly, just do that, you know, for 4 weeks or whatever, how long I did it. And then people started giving referrals. The most demoralizing thing was that most of my social network like went through the onboarding and then just like peaced and then never came back.
Do you like take that personally? A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep a list.
Interesting.
In my head. Yeah.
You know what I like about you? Is I think you give off the most like wholesome, like nice, laid back, but like you have to like kill her. Like I think you're a sicko secretly, which is sick.
Well, it's funny that people on Farcaster don't think I'm very nice.
Yeah, but it's like you're.
Maybe I got more mean in the 6 months you've been gone.
But I feel like you have to be like a little edgy. Like I don't think of your Twitter persona as like particularly, or like Farcaster persona is like particularly nice. It's like serious.
Yeah, it's serious.
It's very serious.
I'm not serious.
But you're like about business. Like you're not here to like fuck around and shit post, which I like.
I want to win. Yeah, you gotta be serious to win.
So you called the first like 400-ish people.
Yeah, video onboarding.
These got a call.
Left. Yeah, well, he is just so.
He used it.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of people were referrals, right? And like then everyone was like, "Oh, who's this guy? He's been gone from Coinbase for a year and a half or whatever. Like he doesn't know anything about blockchain. And, you know, still get accused of this by certain people on Farcaster."
Really? Yeah, are you a developer?
Well, poor developer. Yeah, like I self-taught, but I wrote a bunch of the early code for
Did you
Farcaster.
Really?
Yeah. So.
But you like speak dev.
Yes, I think the devs on my team would say I do okay. I was an English major in college, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I was lazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, you got that's
easy classes.
It's like hard to get into though, yeah? Where are you
from? Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked hard in high school.
Yeah.
Like got in, and then I was lazy in college.
Did you have any startups in college or anything?
Yeah, I started a coupon startup.
Really?
I tried to do.
Groupon competitor?
Yeah, basically it was actually pre-Groupon. That's all.
Pre-Groupon?
Yeah. Groupon came out in the later part of college.
Damn, that could have been it.
Yeah, could have been.
What was it called?
Coupon DJ.
Coupon DJ?
Yeah.
And what you would just
the logo is atrocious.
You just have to go
I'm known for terrible logos. The Warpcast logo is terrible. Farcaster is okay, but the Coupon DJ logo by far.
Warpcast logo?
It's just the W.
Oh yeah, it's not good.
It looks like a University of Washington.
Yeah, no, it's not great.
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, it's not good. Yeah. It's not Rainbow.
Yeah, it's not
Rainbow's
good.
a good
Rainbow.
logo. Pump's logo's pretty good. The little
Pump's is really good.
Yeah.
You need like a plushie for Farcaster, but it's not like a plushie company.
Yeah. Do I look like
No,
a
you're not. I don't think you're a
guy?
plushie guy.
Yeah.
Pump Fun is a really good one. All right, tell me about. Wait, what happened to the coupon company?
We got an acquisition offer after the first year to come and work for like some like spammy SMS company in Silicon Valley, but we had to drop out. And I was actually kind of excited, but my parents a little less so.
They didn't like it.
And my college roommate's parents were less so, and so we're kind of both firstborn. And we.
Is your college roommate in crypto?
No, he's not in crypto.
Okay, do you feel like guilty for like the close people in your life, like siblings, whatever, that aren't in crypto and like don't know what's going on in crypto, that you haven't onboarded them?
No,
Like, do you have like a responsibility? Like I think about this, like fuck, like I have like friends that are like, I could convince them to get into crypto, but like it was this way last cycle. You convince them, then they buy the top, then they hate you. Like, do you have like a responsibility to like society to onboard these people to crypto?
well, I told everyone when I joined Coinbase to buy some Bitcoin.
And they didn't listen.
Well, 50% of them did. And
They're still your friends. The other ones
their
are
family. And, you know, I'd say 50% of the people who bought sold, and then 50% are like hold. They still hold. So they're doing pretty well on that Bitcoin. But yeah, I think I try to just avoid talking about crypto with people. Like if people ask, I'm happy to talk, you know, till I'm blue in the face on it, but like I just don't bring it up.
What do you how do you like balance the opportunity cost to not be on Twitter with being in Farcaster long term? Like, because I think this is actually the problem. Is like, at least me personally, I'm very like a hyper obsession fixated kind of guy, as you might have gotten a taste of. I get really fixated on things. I'm very tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And it's like, for example, Telegram messages are like my kryptonite. Managing 5 conversations is like just take me out. Put me in the Slack. It's like just take me out. So I get like very fixated. Twitter obviously has the biggest discoverability. The most is happening on Twitter right now, so I'm hyper fixated on Twitter. How do you like not beat Twitter, but beat the opportunity cost of Twitter?
So I think it's extremely smart to keep using Twitter. Yeah. Like I'm not trying to.
You have to.
Like it's just like that's the biggest audience. Yeah. Like you know, and especially in crypto, like that's the main arena. The pitch I would say to people is like if you could put 5-10% of your time into Farcaster, you can actually build a community there that might be like more ride or die type people, like real reply guys, like people. There's more likely that they're going to be able to see it. You can put a link on the network that can get distribution. You can put some draft stuff out, see if it's resonating, and then you move it over. I actually do that all the time. Where it's like I like will put a meme or some joke on Farcaster. If it actually kind of rips, then boom, like okay, great. Now my Twitter like gets better from that. But I think like any version of me selling people you got to go cold turkey is just like it's not going to be sustainable. Right? Yeah. So it's a little bit of like, do you have room for both? I nixed Telegram for my life, and I haven't missed it. Yeah. And I actually think like most Telegram stuff, like, and people try to say, oh, people use it for business development or whatever. Like, if you have a big audience on Twitter, people will reach out. They'll figure out ways to get to. Yeah, they'll reach out to you on DMs. Now your DMs on Twitter are kind of a mess.
But if you want it bad enough, you can.
Yeah, they'll get to you.
Twitter.
Yeah. So that's like part of the other thing is if you can remove, like, social media is zero sum, right? Like just pure time. Like if you can add extra time in your day, great. Like you can take the limitless pill and then just like you know you can spend the extra time with Farcaster. But I think I think it's you target what you use for it, and then you don't feel guilty if you don't use it. Yeah. And then it actually like it feels pretty freeing. It's like you can kind of go into Farcaster. I've actually asked Kobe this because Kobe has a Farcaster and will sometimes just randomly post stuff, and then I'll send him a DM and be like, what did you? He's like, honestly, I just didn't want to deal with the like
Twitter shit.
Baggage from Twitter on that. And so, like, I think that's just like a good strategy for us in the near term. It's like if you just get people
to say some shit,
just do it and just try it on a Farcaster or whatever. And there are some pretty funny people on Farcaster, as much as people think it's Christian rap. Yeah.
Christian rap is not. Yeah. I'm happy you're not mad, dude. I was a little scared to see you. I'm not gonna lie.
Remember, I have that.
I was a little scared. All right, here's what I really want to know. You got in crypto. You joined Coinbase 2014, so you saw all of 2017. I wasn't here for that. Then I was one of the NFT cucks that came in 2020, 2021. I was here for all of that. And then now we're back at it. Round 3, I guess, or more, but round 3. How crazy is this cycle? Like, is this golden super cycle? How crazy is it about to get? What inning are we in?
I think we're starting a bull market. I think people at the beginning of the year,
bull market.
Yeah, I think people were saying it was the bull market, and I was like very much like I don't think this is. I think this is a head fake. Because one, I think the election, there's like too much to be determined by the election, and I think now with the election, crypto policy in the U.S. is going to get good, and it's never been good. So this is the first time.
How much does that matter?
It will be pretty significant for like the quality of projects that you will see. I personally still believe it's like everything is driven by Bitcoin, and I think I'm very much bought into the like sovereign cycle narrative. Like Matt Huang at Paradigm wrote a little post about this, but like I actually think you'll see nation states just say like we own Bitcoin, and it could be as simple as this like Bitcoin strategic reserve, which is a bit of a.
You think it's gonna happen?
It could. I mean, here's the thing: they don't even have to buy the Bitcoin. They already have the Bitcoin. They just haven't sold it yet. So if you just take the Bitcoin that they took from Silk Road and other places, and they just don't sell it, and as a policy, every time they take down one of these dark net marketplaces or some, drug cartel or whatever with Bitcoin, and they just keep the Bitcoin. We have a gold reserve. Like, why don't we have a Bitcoin reserve?
Don't they have a fuck ton of Bitcoin too from Silk Road and shit?
Yeah. It's like billions and billions of dollars, and so. I think like that meme, as dumb as it sounds, if the U.S. does it, then everyone else has to ask us like, well, why don't we have Bitcoin on the balance sheet?
Do you think?
And if that happens, like
it's GG's.
Yeah, that's the super cycle, and then it'll spill down all through the rest of crypto assets because when people are really wealthy as a result of Bitcoin, then they want to diversify. And what do they diversify into? And then once you're in those other assets, like what do? It's like, oh, I'm feeling really wealthy. I'm going to buy an NFT.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to buy some one of an art.
Yeah. Right. Like, but like anyone is like, oh, like that's not the lead of the cycle. The cycle is a result of the monetary policy in crypto that comes from Bitcoin.
So your Coinbase stock got to go crazy.
Coinbase stock is a good index on. It's not investment advice. Do your own research.
Yeah.
But Coinbase stock is a good index on all of crypto.
So was this like the unlock that you were waiting for at like Coinbase? I can imagine they've been waiting for is just like proper regulation and guardrails.
Yes, but I think that the big thing for Coinbase is they still need the talent of like people to come in and like build the interesting stuff, right? And so this is the first time in 10 years I've been in crypto where the infrastructure is ahead of the talent.
Really?
So each bull market that's happened, you've had these like really talented people come in, they like want to go do something on chain, and then it's just like, wait, I have to wait for these like crazy confirmation times, gas fees, like none of that existed, right? Solana a little bit the last cycle, but for the most part, we're now in a world where it's like base versus Solana in terms of driving down the cost of transactions and the throughput of transactions. That's a huge surplus for the rest of crypto. So people are going to be able to build like whatever app that they want. And I think like, yeah, so like Blackbird is a good example. Are you familiar?
No,
it's like a restaurant reservation company, whatever.
Okay.
But the guy had sold Resi, which is like a legit thing, to American Express. And so he that kind of entrepreneur like times that by 100 or 1,000 over the next couple of years, like in crypto.
We sold a reservation company, made a new one.
Yeah,
that's
turned around and just did it. That's just very common. Like people
rebuild the same thing.
Yeah, a little bit different. There's probably some non-compete, but like you have all the connections. Like why wouldn't you just go do it?
That's
again?
wild.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Really?
Yeah. But so I think that this cycle is you have big price appreciation on major assets, which spills in, tracks the people in to build, and then they're like, oh shit, like all this L2 infrastructure works really well. The embedded wallets,
it actually works.
All this, it's like you can actually go build the thing that you wanted to build.
So it sounds like you're saying first inning.
Yeah, I think first inning. Yeah.
So
it can still be choppy, right? Like we could have a sideways period for a while, but like, yeah. And then if you have a tax cut, that's gonna push.
So do you think this AI meta vertical brings the talent back into crypto? Like how? And more broadly, what's your thought on what's happening with AI right now in crypto?
So maybe I'm not as like versed across everything that you probably know more about the stuff that's happening on Twitter, but my like understanding is like Mark Andreessen randomly sends Bitcoin. How boomer is that, right? He sends Bitcoin to the Truth Terminal guy, and then you get Truth Terminal.
Yeah.
And then people like, it's like, can you create a cryptocurrency? Like, boom, you have, I forget what the one he created. Or,
yeah.
So.
And now there's this AI agent, like Meta, everyone's launching agents.
Right, so then everyone was like, okay, I want to go do this, and like, how do I go do it? And then I think that naturally spilled over to Farcaster, because like, building on Farcaster is like way easier than building on Twitter at this point. Like, if anyone is trying to like go use the Twitter API, they're charging a ton of money for it. You get like rate limited, so you can only do so many like queries.
So explain that, like if you're a dev that like has no idea, what can you do on Farcaster you can't do on Twitter?
Well, you don't have to ask anyone for permission. Like you create an account and then you can go do it. And so a dev on Farcaster created this agent called Ethernet, which is like, basically Truth Terminal for Farcaster. And then from there, you've had a proliferation of a bunch of other AIs.
How do you feel about them?
I think they're cool. I think it's like a cool experiment. Like, do you want to go spend all day talking to it? But I think that there's a little bit of like performance art that comes in. And one of the AIs created using another AI that can deploy tokens, like deployed a token on Farcaster, which was like the first one to kind of like get a little bit of attention on Base in a while. And then as a result of that, like now people are deploying tokens like all the time. In the entire time I've been on Farcaster, we had, you know, kind of a couple of like Farcaster native assets that kind of like tipping mechanics or whatever, but like now in the last like 3 weeks, there have been like 3,000 assets deployed.
And so do you encourage it, discourage it, zen on it? How do you feel about this?
I think the way I think about it is like, we need to be indexed to what people are doing on chain, right?
Yeah.
And so if you take this like snooty approach of like, oh, meme coins are bad, then okay, cool. You've built a crypto native social network where you're literally not having people do anything with crypto because what people are doing with crypto isn't happening on your social network. At the same time, like if you just like go into like true degenerate casino,
you kill it too.
Yeah, or like you run into people like doing live streams with like, you know, really weird shit. Like, so my point is like you have to find some level of balance, and that's how I think about it.
How do you moderate Farcaster? It's a good point.
Yeah, so Farcaster has like different levels of moderation. The simplest is Warpcast can just like make an account disappear from Warpcast, but that doesn't actually make it disappear from the protocol.
You can't make things disappear from the protocol, right?
No. Okay. So that in of itself is important. But from a de facto standpoint, if like most users are using Warpcast and we make you go away, but it's important from a like are you actually censored or not? It's like, no, it's like you violated the Warpcast terms of service. So I think we can be a little bit more aggressive if people are being like totally obscene with kind of whatever content that's.
Do you have a take on the Pump Fun live streams?
I didn't watch enough of them. I actually watched the one with the guy who was doing like the 24 hours. What was it? Like
Twilight or whatever?
No, he was trying to like get his coin to go to whatever 100 million market cap, and he was like, I'm just gonna keep live streaming without going to sleep.
Okay,
I was like, okay, this is like this is
some of them got pretty dark.
Yeah, so like I think that the problem is like if people see that they can make money, like you're raced to the bottom in terms of just like attracting attention.
Does the U.S. like ban Pump Fun if they don't take it down?
So I mean, there are real like legal liabilities for them under Section 230 in the U.S.
Okay.
But like I think that they shut down the live stream and they're gonna bring it back with some level of moderation, which, you know.
Is it like a big deal if you get like shut down in the U.S.?
I mean, it's really hard to get shut down in the US for content.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so despite what the like big social media platforms do in terms of like content moderation, like the First Amendment gives you a pretty wide swath in terms of like what you can have on your platform. That says not everything is allowed, and so I think like you run into like all this stuff where it's like, okay, if you have people like threatening to murder someone on stream, like that is actually you're gonna have some liability there. And I think it's just like bad brand association.
Yeah.
But okay, I mean, look, the thing is they don't like if they're based outside the U.S. If you want to just like don't take Pump Fun, just say company based outside the U.S. that doesn't have any like fiat connections where a bank can go shut them down and they're purely on chain. Like maybe the hosting company, like you can go pull the server out of the wall, but like I mean, it like the power of crypto is like you can if you're outside the.
See, that's what I thought was so funny about it is everyone on Twitter is like, this is bad. Pump Fun has to shut it down. Like all the permissionless, decentralized people are like, Pump Fun needs to take live streams down. Like this is wrong. It's kind of ironic.
Well, it is a centralized platform. It's not like that they claim to be anything other.
Yeah, I mean, just the people on Twitter.
Yeah, sure,
like,
sure. The takes I think are always
whatever though. It is what it is.
But
can you tell me what the fuck this Anon coin is? What is Vitalik buying? I've seen it on Twitter. It's tagging me in tweets. Like, what is this account?
Yeah, so the app that got started on Farcaster.
It started on Farcaster.
Yeah. So developer who's been in the ecosystem for a while, Sloke, previously been at OpenSea and Manifold. Really? Yeah, so like in the trenches on NFT stuff, dev. Just like deployed this, like I think last week. It's only like 7 or 8 days old.
Really?
And the way it works is there's a website, anoncast.org. And in order to be able to post on the website, you need to own some amount of the token, and that actually varies. So if you go to the website right now, you'd see how many of the token you need. And the way it works is you go to post, and then it does this like zero knowledge proof, like gigabrain math behind the scenes, and then from there it checks to see that your crypto wallet has that token, and then it just like posts out to a group account. So you can, you know that like account, that group of non-account
Confessions?
Yeah, or like 0x Balloon Lover.
Yeah.
Like it's like kind of like that, but on Farcaster, right? And anyone can join, right?
Wait, what is 0x Balloon? The Big Bird?
The Big Bird
That's an Anon?
It's in a non-group that uses something like called.
Dude, I've like fought with this Twitter account before. That's
because you're fighting with like a whole group of people.
Seriously?
Yeah. That's my understanding. Is it's like using some like trusted execution environment on the server somewhere.
The Big Bird.
The Big Bird is birds.
What?
Yeah, you're fighting. It's like it's like would you rather fight one horse-sized duck
or like 100?
Yeah. You're fighting.
Horses.
You're fighting 100. Not horses, but little big birds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Finished.
But anyway, so a non-cast is basically that, but with like zero knowledge proof stuff, and using like GigaBrain. It's open source, and so Vitalik sees this and he's interested in ZK stuff, and so he's able to look at the source code. And
he hasn't bid something in a while, right? That's why.
I don't like follow what Vitalik buys on a regular basis, but like he thought it was a cool enough app to go participate, and so now the question is. Anytime you see something from a non-cast, which some of it gets like simulcast, that could be Vitalik. And so every big name, like if you were to participate in a non-cast, no one will know is it Vitalik or Threadguy or
and there's
some
like
other
no way to have like a situation where they like out who posted it.
Well, now they have this claim feature where you can actually like claim it later if it's a banger. You could be like, I was actually the one who posted it. So there's a lot of innovation.
But if you got like if the website got like I don't know, hacked.
If the website got hacked. Retroactively, I don't think anyone could do it, but like let's say they were like watching you and changing the code, but I think there are even people who are thinking about like how do they decentralize this, so get access to the account through like the ZK stuff. So I think like you'll see more of this stuff happen.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you like speak to these developers and you're like, yo, this is a good idea, you should focus on this, you should do this?
I just try to boost their stuff on Farcaster and then we'll post on Twitter, and then I will DM with them, and then sometimes I'll just like reply to the thing like being like, hey, you guys should have these features. I made a suggestion last week and they added it the next day. I forget honestly. Like the amount of like stuff that goes into my brain a day from Farcaster when I forget the next day. I'm literally on Farcaster
like all day.
All day.
What time do you wake up?
I have little kids, so I'm usually up by 6.
How old are your kids? You don't have to, if you don't
3.5 and 2.
Okay.
And I have a third one coming in a few weeks.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, so you're fucking busy.
Yeah.
So you're up hella early.
6.
You're coffee guy?
Coffee guy, and then I open up my app, and usually people are yelling at me.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to start the day.
Okay.
And then...
are you like a walk before the phone, or you roll over and you're on Farcaster?
No, I'm on the phone. It's
yeah.
Right in the face.
Yeah, me too.
It's like...
Yeah, what do you...
You're in the social media business. Now there's like no Zen coffee journaling, like thinking, how do I feel today?
Like,
okay, now I'm going to have people yelling at me. No. But yeah, I think then it's... My office is only like a few minutes away. I'm in Venice. And then I just like
you
roll
guys
into
have a
the
Farcaster office? Or just a stay-in office?
Yeah, Varun and me. That's it.
He's in Venice too?
Yeah. So the two of us are there, and then the rest of the team's remote. So
the rest of the team's remote. He's
it's
sharp.
just kind of
I like him.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
I joined one of the like back in the day, one of the Zooms, the dev Zooms.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on, but I was in there. Dude,
you were in the trenches.
Yeah, oh fuck yeah! I was trying to learn. I had like 9 different like coding arcs. It doesn't work, but I could.
Well, now you have like AI.
Yeah,
do
exactly.
It for you.
Are you like a big like meeting team? Like you on hella meetings?
No, one a day.
Stand up kind of thing.
We have stand up, and that's it.
30 minutes.
15 sometimes.
Really?
Keep it short. And then we have like sub little things that like break off after that based on the kind of like what people are working on. So like the frames team, like you just sync with them quickly. But yeah, it's like no BS. Like we don't need any.
So do you think stuff. Frames 2 is gonna be a big deal?
I think we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna try to hype it up.
You keep it like very nonchalant. I like that.
Well, I mean,
you don't like hype things up too much. Even when Farcaster was going crazy, everyone's like euphoric. I have $1 million a year in degen tipping, and you're just like, new feature, degen's cool. Like it's like super low. It's like I like it is.
Well, I did learn a little bit of that from Brian Armstrong. Like he's got this like stoic vibe. It's just like highs are not as high as you think, lows are not as low.
Yeah.
Because the problem is if you go too euphoric when things are great, that crash will just be so devastating that you'll just spin out, burn out, quit. And so you gotta like modulate.
Yeah. Are you like a reader?
Yeah, I like reading.
I like to read.
Well, I don't read much of these days. I mean, I literally am like jacked into the stream all day. But I like everything.
You said you saw some of the streams. That was hype.
It was good.
Yeah.
I like Twitch.
What do you think of the state?
So I like Age of Empires 2. I'm a boomer.
Oh, dude, I used to be obsessed.
Okay, so I watched the Viper, who's a big Twitch streamer. And then like T90 official who does these like streams.
Word.
So like I didn't understand Twitch. Actually, Fred, one of the co-founders, is like crazy gamer, like Dota. It was like really good FPS player. And so he was the one originally like tried to get me into Twitch, and I was like, oh man, this is like not. I don't want to watch people play video games. Yeah. And then I got into it. I'm like, okay, this is sick.
This is sick. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually like streams. Like I think it's cool. It's like nice to listen to.
What's the stream Farcaster app?
Oh, that app pivoted to Solana. We don't talk about that app anymore. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Yeah, you should ask that guy. But anyways,
it's like that. Okay.
Yeah. So we're waiting for our Farcaster native stream app. There's actually an app on Farcaster called Stream.
Okay.
I think it was like 3Ms. So they're working on it. Maybe one day we could hop on a stream together.
That would be sick.
Yeah.
Stream competitor is tough.
Yeah, it's expensive.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Like, how do you beat Amazon?
Well, I actually think it's easier to beat Amazon at a consumer app than Meta or whatever.
Why?
Just they don't have that DNA. Like I think that they're more like serious business culture, less like, ruthless.
Hey, what's is it Clanker? Clanker.fun? Also, do you have an out?
No. I was just thinking. No, so it's Clanker.world.
Clanker.world.
That's the kind of asset generator on Farcaster.
I saw it was a tweet. I'm sorry, but it did like.
Well, that's why I put the tweets out, so people like you see it and then you got Farcaster on your brain.
It did like.
If you hear Farcaster 30 times over the next month, I can promise you everyone will come back at least once, and that's the goal. I like. So I stay quiet, and then every once in a while I pop back up and do a little bit of media. This is the first media I'm doing.
Thanks for doing this, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I saw a tweet, which I'm allowed to say, that Clanker.world did like 20% of pump-pumps volume in a day.
Yeah, I think that then there was a revision on the way they were calculating that Dune dashboard. So I took the Dune dashboard. That was an accurate representation of the Dune dashboard, but the Dune dashboard. So I deleted it.
People remember the big numbers, though.
It's actually nice. I have nothing but respect for people building in Solana and the Solana ecosystem, and the founders especially. And so I got like a couple of people who like nicely reached out on DM. And they're like, I'm not going to blow you up right now, but this is wrong. So I deleted it. But they have generated a bunch in revenue.
And it's a base. Can you use it on Farcaster?
Yeah. So you just like at reply it on Farcaster, and then it just deploys a token. So that's why it's like the number of tokens that are happening on Farcaster right now is like growing.
You at reply on Farcaster deploys a token.
Yeah. So I like, let's say I like do some meme or whatever. Like your cast on Farcaster, someone might have already deployed a token off of that. Like your hey like could be a new token.
Really? Yeah. And you could just say like at Clanker.world create token.
Yeah, basically like, and it's an LLM, so it like can detect like, and you can give it an image and all this other kind of stuff, right? And so it's like the number of things that people have deployed is like crazy. And again, it's like we're not building that. That's just like some developer proxy studio who's kind of like this anon developer in the ecosystem just built.
Yeah, I DM'd him to come on and like, well, we're anon, but like the intern will like show his face.
The intern. Yeah.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And so, like, 2-person team.
2-person.
They're 2-3 weeks in. They're growing pretty fast. That's exciting. And it's like the goal is to have 100 of those on Farcaster in terms of like success stories.
Do you think of base as Farcaster? Like, is it like synonymous almost? Did they think of it like that? Because it feels like everything that happens on base happens on Farcaster. Is that just like the community has a heavy crossover or what?
I think it's heavy crossover. And like I said before, I think Jesse was really smart. He saw frames and then he just kind of like went.
Do you speak to him often?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he's like low key working on Farcaster in the background.
No, they're doing their own thing, but like I think they are like we're extremely complimentary in what we're doing, right? And so some of the stuff that they're doing, like the smart wallet stuff, I think is like going to benefit the Farcaster ecosystem and all that kind of like the UX for crypto apps over the next 2 years is just going to be insane compared to 2021. Like
really.
Imagine like when you were trying to convince someone, oh, this is how you go buy an NFT, like how clunky it was. Like that's just the user experience this time around is just going to be amazing. So I'm very excited for this next cycle in terms of like what gets built in crypto.
So you think hypergrowth for crypto is hypergrowth for Farcaster?
I would hope. If that doesn't happen, then we're doing something wrong.
Yeah. You also like fairly recently raised like a massive round.
Raised at the beginning of the year when we had the growth. It took a little bit of time to close, but yeah. So we had the term sheet in February.
From Paradigm, right?
Paradigm, yeah.
That was like insane. What's the fundraising process like? Was that difficult? Was it like brutal?
Mine is a little unique in that I didn't have a pitch deck, so there was just
like you just like showed up to the meetings.
Phone call.
No way. Like not even video.
No video.
And whoa, didn't have a pitch deck. Has that like ever happened before?
I'm sure other people, yeah, but
And you just like.
I mean, we're building in public, right? So like people can see what we're doing.
Wait, that's like so aura. You didn't have a pitch deck, so you would just pick it up. They know who you are. And you're like, I'm Dan.
I'm raising this much money
at this
valuation. Are you in or not? That was the.
Did you have like a memorized pitch?
There was no pitch. It was just that was the conversation.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah.
There was no pitch.
You can ask the people.
So it wasn't like you memorized the pitch deck. It was like, I'm the pitch.
Well, the network, the team that we built, the community of people who are using it. But yeah, like it's out there in public, right? You don't need like some backroom pitch. It's like.
But you like glossed over that. That's insane.
So, but we have most of the money. We're not 14 people. We're keeping it. Everyone has an opinion on what we should do with the money.
What do people think you should do with it?
I don't know, hire a marketing team.
I don't think you need one.
Hey, everyone at Farcaster.
I don't know what they would do.
Gen Z streamer.
Gen Z. So Farcaster gives you hella shit about this stuff.
It's okay. This is validating.
This is validating. Yeah. I don't think you need one. Like you. Yeah. No pitch deck is crazy. Wow.
Dune dashboard. There you go.
Dune dashboard. That's wild. Was it like a long, gruesome process, or it was like everyone wanted it?
No, it was over in like 48 hours, and then it took a while. It's a big round, right?
It was over in 48 hours.
150 million. So
you legit made like 3 phone calls. It was done.
Yeah, like 5 phone calls.
Holy fuck! Were you like alone on the calls, like just you or everyone too?
Just did it in the parking lot.
No way, bro. What are you saying?
That's the way it works. Not for everybody, but
Yeah, that is not. I feel like that's not the way it works for everybody at all.
Yeah. But I mean, look, we raised the money, and then we're in a position now. We've got to figure out growth. So like, it's like getting a mortgage. It's like okay, cool. You got to figure out how to make.
Did your focus change when it was what $225 million?
150. So we'd raised 30 million before. But I mean, we have call it more than 170 million in the bank. So we haven't spent much of the money.
Are you like really frugal with the money? Like you don't waste any of it? There's no like.
I still use
FTX parties.
I still use my personal laptop from. Actually, I just bought a Mac Mini. It was $1,200.
Nice.
That was
Frank just bought one.
It's fast.
It's a good computer, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got this PC here. Do you game?
No, I have like a fucking 4090 GPU and I never game.
Wow. You used to be able to mine Ethereum with that.
Yeah?
Yeah, now you can't.
No, I don't do anything with this. I just stream. I don't think the stream is that intensive either because I don't game. I don't do anything.
I like the Summit. It's good.
It's also Frank's. I think this is on the D God's card.
Boom. There you go.
14 employees. What? Okay, so everyone thinks you should have a marketing team. You say, fuck that, we don't need that. I really don't think that you do. How do you think of like growth then? Like how do you capitalize on crypto bull market?
It's having the like core app just like work really well, like the basics for the social stuff, and then actually frames and making the transactions be as smooth as possible. And that sounds like
frames the killer feature.
Yes, but we have to make them better, and then we have to convince other people to go build. And so, like, there's an example. Like, there's this guy on Twitter, and he's given like fair critique of Farcaster. I forget his handle. He's the guy who just friend pet surf coder. Or something. Anyways, but like he's on base, right? And he's got this like cool game, and it's like on chain. It's like we got to get that guy to be willing to build a frame. And so if we can't build it like the stuff good enough to get his app there, then we're screwing up. And so I think it's just a lot of work to go do that.
I always thought your sickest take. You actually have a lot of sick takes. I thought one of my favorite ones was how you thought about, in order for Farcaster the protocol to be successful, like you have to build the killer app, and like a lot of people don't think that way. They want like people to come build on the network where there's nothing.
Yeah, Field of Dreams. You ever see that movie?
Yeah.
So if you build it, they will come. That doesn't actually.
It doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, you gotta will the thing into existence. So and look, I mean, the thing that's driving growth right now in Farcaster are the developers on the network, but they're not building like a Warpcast competitor right now. It's actually Clanker and a non-cast are like they're kind of these other apps that actually plug into the network, and so you benefit from the distribution of Warpcast. And then look, there are other clients. There's like one called Supercast.
I was gonna ask, what happened to Supercast?
Supercast still around. They just rebranded today to Super. And they're just like leaning completely into like assets. So it's like you can do all the like on-chain crazy
The best day ever for a supercast or super is when you tweet Farcaster or Warpcast is down investigating and they have a fucking
yeah, and then you can actually do it from Supercast. Yeah, no, Woj is great. One guy in Poland. He would be good to have on the stream.
Oh, Woj, I know him. I like him.
He's cool. He's like really sharp.
Huh.
Yeah, but there are a bunch of other apps, and so it's like I think we're finally getting to the place where Warpcast doesn't have to do like all of the growth. Like we're gonna have other apps be able to contribute, but like I still think just keeping the grind on of like the focus of like we have to keep driving it forward. That level of focus also enables like the clankers and the non-casts of the world to like pop up and then keep going.
What happened to Pearl?
Pearl's still around.
I really like Alex.
Alex, yeah, he was super hyped to that.
Dude, he's a sick.
Threadguy.
I love that guy.
Yeah. So he's around. I think they're working on some like new app. It's like some prediction market kind of thing, Alpaca or something.
Okay,
I don't know. But yeah, Alex, one of the earliest Farcaster users, came by the office. Like,
really?
I was like willing to meet anyone on the network. Yeah. Like there were like 100 people using it every day. So
Frank was one of the earliest people on Farcaster.
Yeah, and then he churned.
I don't know if he's back there. He churned and he's bad, right?
Yeah, we'll get him back one day.
Is Brian on?
Brian's on there. He comes back every once in a while.
Yeah, but he's a busy guy.
Yeah, could be still on there for 5 minutes.
Brian, he's gonna come on the stream one time. He doesn't do a lot of media, does he?
I could probably convince Brian to come on the stream.
You think you could?
You'd have to be on your best behavior that day.
Woo! Chat, would you want Brian on the stream? That'd be wild. I feel like you have like...
You can't ask about that dog coin, though, from his wedding. What was it called? Russell?
Okay.
We can't ask about that.
Your phone contact list is probably insane.
It's a good list. I don't usually give access to my phone contact list.
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
Who's the most famous person in your phone? You don't have to answer it, though.
I'm not going to answer.
Okay. Hey, did you ever... did you know Sam?
Bankman-Fried?
Yeah.
My only interaction with Sam Bankman-Fried was in 2019 when I was leaving Coinbase. I had moved over from the consumer business to take over the institutional sales team, which was like that needed to kind of get shaken up.
Yeah.
And so it was a little bit of like a janitorial type job. But while I was there, I met with all the big institutional traders, including when he was at Alameda. And he's a pretty confident guy on the phone and had very strong opinions on what we should be doing with the product.
Really?
Yeah. Anyways, that's my only. It was a voice or a video chat.
Oh, it was a video chat.
Yeah, it was like we were in a conference room and he was on there and he was tweaking out on whatever.
Was he playing League in the background?
I think he probably was.
Oh, really?
Like he was kind of like
he was like bouncing and shit. What do you think of CZ being out?
Dude, I think he played it really well. 4-month prison sentence, gets to keep all his money.
Crazy, right?
I think that seems pretty smart. SBF is in jail for a very long time and CZ is scot-free with $60 billion.
What do you think would have happened at Coinbase if that didn't play out? If that played out the opposite way?
That if FTX was like totally above board?
Yeah.
I think they have a lot more competition right now. Yeah, I think that their margins would be worse and they wouldn't be trading their stock wouldn't be as high as it is. But I mean, they basically had all their competitors get vaporized.
All of them.
Well, I mean, they were breaking the law. So to be clear, this is like something we feel like we have one hand behind our back because we're the ones actually following the rules.
Brian that's crazy. He's like, I mean, is Coinbase gonna be like one of the biggest company in the world in 2025?
I don't know, biggest company in the world, but I think it if look, you have a crypto bull market, Coinbase is going to be indexed to that. So, non-investment advice.
Yeah, NFA. How long? Like, when did you get the idea? Oh, this is what I'll ask you. You have this danromero.com. It's pretty sick.
.org. The .com guy. If you go to danromero.com, it's even worse. It's a wealth manager who has my name, right? Like pretty common name, like Latin.
Italian.
Cultures. It's Spanish.
Okay. Right.
So, but like in Mexico, Romero. I'm not Mexican, but Romero is like pretty common.
Okay.
So this guy owns danromero.com, and it just like redirects to some like wealth management thing. I reach out like a couple years ago. I'm like, hey, I'm willing to buy it for like $1,000 or whatever. And he like comes back and is like $1 million. I was like, all right, danromero.org it is. Like,
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You have there's some cool stuff on there.
I don't know if cool is what I describe it. It's like
it was
when I was bored. I was bored between
cool
Coinbase and Farcaster. I like put stuff on my blog.
What'd you do? How long was that time?
Year and a half.
You went and you like studied history and shit, right?
Yeah, I was like reading books and I traveled a little bit. It was pre-kids. Like we just did 9 months of travel. The other thing is I played Red Dead Redemption 2
it's a great game.
and GTA 5. I had been saving that up.
Oh, you were just gaming?
Yeah, I was like in my basement in SF at the time, and my wife, who had never seen me like get into gaming, she's like, "You're just literally waking up." This is during COVID too. It's like
playing video games.
Just like waking up, playing video games until like 10 p.m. at night and going to sleep.
Wait, did you say the reason you left Coinbase?
No, I just left. I was like kind of done. It was like
done.
5 years. And
okay.
I wanted to start something.
And did you took a year in between?
Year and a half.
And you just like gamed and you just like studied, like learned shit.
Yeah, I was like reading books and.
Was it like impactful? Like was it important?
Yeah, it was good. It was an important year for me. I kind of like shut off a little bit of like the woke SF stuff that like I think was like pretty predominant. Like if you were just like working at a tech company in San Francisco, if you're focused on work, like you just didn't like think about some of the political stuff. And I think for me, it was. I also in traveling, I just was like, wait, I don't have to actually believe everything. Yeah. Well, you know, I can believe what I want to believe rather than like what everyone's telling me to believe.
Was it like revolutionary or like it was good?
I think it was good. I think I wouldn't like say it's like revolutionary, but like it let me be a little bit more my own personality, which now I get to do that on Farcaster.
Oh, you didn't think you were that before? You're like,
no, I think
Coinbase
it was like, I was just like I was the corporate guy, like just like follow the stuff, and then obviously Coinbase the same thing, right? Like Brian, no politics at work, blog post, and 5% of people quit.
If you didn't start Farcaster, what were you going to build?
I tried to convince Varun to start a like computer company, like literally build like competitor to like Macs.
Really?
And he had previously done a hardware startup for like hearing aid stuff,
he was like,
and he's like, "Fuck no!" He's like, "Never hardware."
Why did you want to do it?
It sounded fun. But this was the other idea. It was like pre-Elon at Twitter, so I was just like, Twitter is run by this like incompetent group of people, like they, you know, super left-leaning. They should be much more neutral. Yeah. And now I think it's like right-leaning, which whatever. But like starting Farcaster, I think like was like very mission-driven. That the public square of the internet should be a protocol, and I still strongly.
Did you know the old Twitter regime?
Some people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like Jack Dorsey is like he lives in Costa Rica.
You met him?
Once.
Is he cool?
I mean, super successful. I mean, it's like Twitter and Square, like that's pretty good track
record. People say he's Satoshi. Hey, do you have a take on who Satoshi is?
I think Satoshi is one of those like cryptographer guys who died, like Hal Finney or one of those.
Len Sassman?
Potentially. Yeah.
You watched the documentary?
I did not. No.
Yeah, it was garbage.
Yeah.
Peter Todd.
I just like Bitcoin. To me is like great asset. Like zero interest in following along what's happening. Like it doesn't matter. It's like an anti-signal of like if there's anything happening in the Bitcoin world. Like to me, it's like the thing is just going to continue to chug along and like be really successful, like massively successful, despite what everyone in the Bitcoin community is doing.
I was going to ask you this earlier. Do you think MicroStrategy is like a failure point for Bitcoin? They own like what 2% of Bitcoin now?
I don't know. It's just like a little financial engineering heavy for me, but I do think like I'm impressed with the conviction.
Yeah. Have you ever met Saylor?
I've never met Saylor.
Oh, really?
I don't know anyone in the like modern Bitcoin scene. Okay. Like the only people I know like 2014 era, and then at that point I stopped. Like kind of like 2015 and then 2016 just like flip over to crypto, Ethereum.
Okay. So on danromero.org, there's some cool things. Cool was the word. I will use the word cool. And one of the posts is like idea, like what people should build, ideas for people to build or something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I have a couple. So pre-Farcaster, I had like startup ideas. Like it was like, here are some startup ideas. And then I forget what most of those are at this point. And then I had 50 ideas for people to build on Farcaster.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think, even if it's not Farcaster, what do you think is like, what is crypto missing right now? Like, what is the new sick founder need to come
The crazy thing that I don't understand why it doesn't exist, and maybe there's someone smart in the stream who can tell you, but like, why? And you'd have to do it outside the U.S. And so again, like, you do your own research on your laws. But like, why isn't there a crypto-based blackjack online? It's like, think about like all these people, all they want to do all day is play money games, like blackjack and poker.
Right there.
Yeah, but like, why doesn't that exist?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like you have all this like block space and stuff like that. Again, like. Probably gonna get the U.S. wanting to ban you, but like there are a bunch of other places around the world like people want to do that, and maybe the answer is like people would rather trade 100x perps than they would like want to play blackjack. Yeah, but like that just seems like a really obvious.
Will you ever trade like a perp share?
No.
Are you allowed to trade at Coinbase?
Well, early days you could because there was no SEC. Everyone was like, oh, this is commodities, and then in 2017 it kind of like blew up, and then it was like no trading at all. Like, and so since then, I mean, I was never really a trader. It's like the assets I own in crypto, like in sizable like chunk, is like Bitcoin, ETH, I have a Solana position in Uniswap. That's it.
Oh, Uniswap, why?
Not investment advice.
Are you friends with Hayden?
I know him a little bit, but it's just like I was an angel investor. Haven't sold it. Yeah.
Congrats.
Well, I mean,
You invested in Solana too?
I didn't do it. I bought Solana in this last like kind of market. I have a lot of respect for what
You have Sol is on Farcaster, right?
You can add a Solana
Solana
address, but we don't have like frames working with it. At some point we might have. It's just there hasn't been a ton of interest. Like
really?
Solana people are more interested in blinks. It's like, okay.
Are they though? Does anyone care?
If we add frames
anyone
v2 and we add Solana support at some point, I bet you the Solana people will show back up. But there's also like this weird religious thing of like, because Farcaster has like a sprinkling of on-chain activity on ETH, it's like, oh, I can't touch that.
Yeah.
It's like totally different religion.
What do you think of you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just wondering because Brian Armstrong is gonna meet with like Trump and stuff. What's like the single biggest like thing that law could be passed or the president could do that you think would help crypto's growth? Like, what's the single biggest like regulation or advancement that you think?
Yeah, so I think that there are two. So the first is the thing that passed the House last summer, Fit 21, that then got stuck in the Senate because of Elizabeth Warren and Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown is now gone, but Elizabeth Warren is still there. So we'll see if that gets kind of snuck into the spending bill or whatever, now that you have Republican control of Congress. But I do think like the strategic Bitcoin reserve, like super obvious. If the US now says we have a strategic Bitcoin reserve, we are not planning to sell this, we think this is a valuable asset that we'll appreciate, it'll be mimetic. All the other countries will basically be like, okay, well, what's our strategy?
Could it maybe be priced in because people haven't priced in that they might sell, right? So if they say we're not selling, isn't that kind of already assumed? Or
well, I think like when people say priced in, it's like everything. Like it's by definition, like if people talking about it, it's like it immediately gets priced in as whether that's going to happen. I think what I would say though is like the second order effects, that gets a lot harder for people in size to make bets on. And so as we get closer to a potential strategic Bitcoin reserve, like that seems like a reality, then I think smart people will look at that and go, okay, I actually think the second order effect here is other countries are going to actually go do this. And maybe it's the second big country in the world that publicly declares they have Bitcoin that creates the, what do you call it, availability cascade.
Exactly. The US would feel pressured to get it at a lower price.
No, I would just say other countries would actually then want to signal that they also have it.
Wow.
So the reason people own US dollars is because like everyone else owns US dollars or like treasuries and stuff like that. So it's like countries are lemmings, right? Like they're most of them are not pioneers. They just follow what other countries do.
I know this is big, but did you ask him price targets yet for Bitcoin?
We didn't get a specific number.
I have no idea. But I think like gold.
He said first inning though.
I think gold is a reasonable thing to look at and say like, as you just like, whatever, Stanley Druckenmiller and like Paul Tudor Jones. It's like these are like legendary investors, and they over the last couple of years in a bad regulatory environment have publicly been saying that they've bought Bitcoin in size. And now you have an ETF, you have an ETH ETF. I would imagine you have a Solana ETF. Like the institutional capital is like slowly flowing in, but like. I think, like Warren Buffett finally fades to irrelevance at some point, like the rat poison meme goes away. If the US has a strategic, like I think that is a very big bull cycle for not Coinbase, but for crypto, Freudian slip. But I think that the challenge is timing. Like you could say, yeah, sure, I think that's going to happen, but like it could be next year or it could be 3 years from now.
All right, I got like 3 more questions. I'll let you leave. What I just like thought this is random. What was your worst day ever at Coinbase?
We had this thing called the flash crash.
Okay.
Where we had some like, it worked as designed, but in retrospect, like first principles, it was like a bad design. Do you know what stop loss order is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can have a cascade of stop loss orders, and that like nuked the price. I think it was ETH, and it was just like this huge mess.
And you guys did it?
Well, it was just like it happened on,
okay.
And then so it was like you just had this huge outpouring of like complaints, and then you had all these like federal regulators.
This was 2020 or no?
This is 2017.
Oh, 2017.
Same year, Bitcoin Cash fork happened.
Oh man.
And then people accused Coinbase of insider trading, which we had a no trading policy by that time. I actually don't ever know what the details, because I had left the company by the time the investigation was done. But my understanding publicly was that there were no employees found to do insider trading. They actually did catch a couple of employees later for a different thing. I think like a year or two ago. But the damage. Like this is like Kobe when he was like anti-Coinbase. Like the whole like this is insider trading.
I wasn't here for this.
Yeah, it's like basically what happened is we had this like huge mess to like get people access to their Bitcoin Cash, and then the API leaked the like Bitcoin Cash was going to be a pair, and so people started buying Bitcoin Cash a couple of days before we offered withdrawals. So basically, but Bitcoin Cash is not a security, right? So insider trading is a security. Like you actually like you can't just like magically say, oh, it's insider trading with a commodity. But it's just like a huge black eye. I just remember it being like super stressful. There were like all these like federal subpoenas that happened, and like I'm still in a driver's seat of like a major part of the company, and it just like it felt really shitty.
Damn.
But you keep going.
What do you think of like the state? What do you think of the future of crypto media?
So I think that the interesting thing about crypto is like one, the traditional media I don't think is nearly as relevant as like stuff that you're doing as like crypto native media, podcasts, streams, and then just like kind of being like really present on X. Yeah. I do think though that the traditional media is really important though for the institutional investors. Okay. And one thing I've noticed in my 10 years is like the traditional media has a pretty negative bias towards crypto, whether it's Bitcoin, ETH, or whatever. And so the one thing I would hope crypto native media could do is like bridge the gap a bit. And so there's like the like, kind of like online, terminally online, that kind of content, which is good. And that's like the bread and butter of building crypto culture. But I do think some of the more sophisticated takes, I don't know how you up level it and get it to cross the chasm to like get it to the institutional people. But that I think is like, there's a huge opportunity there.
Interesting.
Of like, not too technical, but at the same time, not like too degenerate. Yeah. And it's like, get like smart crypto takes to like bubble up to compete for that like airspace with like whatever garbage CNBC is putting out there.
Where do you think stuff like this goes? Like independent, degen-ish, more like boots on the ground crypto media stuff?
So I think streaming is the like pure future, like it will replace all television. Yeah. But the question is like, how do you get the distribution? And I think one thing that I find challenging with streaming right now is like you're on Twitch. Mm-hmm. If you put a link to your stream on Farcaster, you get smoked. So the question is like, should you be using like a simulcast thing like OBS or whatever, and then you're like pushing it to Twitter at the same time? Yeah. And maybe that's the answer.
Twitter like, streaming sucks. You can't do. You have to stream on Twitter.
Right, but this is another thing. There's like streamers should be giving feedback to like at replying Elon, being like, "Yo, I have a huge account."
He should be like.
Yeah, but he's streaming as Diablo. He gets that that's actually where X needs to go.
Certainly, he knows it's not good.
But the thing, and that's when he does all these like he'll interview Trump or whatever, and then it breaks, and then he I'm sure goes and yells at all the people. So, but my sense is like. I think until people have figured out, like I tried to do a live stream AMA for just on Farcaster this weekend. I tried to use YouTube stream. It was fucking awful. Yeah, like it's like I had an external mic, it didn't recognize that, and I'm like, okay, how do I actually go do this? And just like trying to use like some random Riverside or OBS, and I'm like, this okay. So OBS, like pretty if I was smart enough to go figure out OBS, if you could just like get on every single platform, like, are you on YouTube right now?
No.
Right, so then it's like to me, it's like you should just maximize
it.
But maybe you have a good reason that
I used to do Twitter and Twitch, but then the Twitter experience is so bad that you click on it and then you don't actually go, I'm gonna watch this on Twitch. You go, I'm just not gonna watch this. Yeah. And you just drop. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do Twitch. And if you watch it on Twitch and you want to watch it, you're more likely to stay.
And sub.
And grow a following on here.
Is sub important for you?
Yeah. The problem is the splits are so bad though.
What does the platform take?
Bro, it takes. So first of all, if you're Prime, if you have Amazon Prime, you get a free sub once a month, which is nice.
Okay. And Amazon Prime is paying you, but they're paying you some.
So watch this. If you, the more you sub, the better deal you get. But if you were to give me one sub, it would cost you $7, and I would get $2.50.
See, this is the argument that for decentralized social media, right? Like no take rate. You're generating the content, and then they're taking.
That does not feel. That feels like illegal.
Yeah. Right.
So in Twitch, it's way better on Kick, but Kick is steak, and it's just a mess over there. It's like Pump Fun live streams. It's a mess over there. They basically launched the same product as Twitch, and we're gonna let anything go, and we're gonna pay streamers to come. And so it became like go to Kick if you want like money, go to Twitch if you want like views. And so the money runs out, the money people come back to Twitch.
Do you benefit from the distribution on Twitch, or is it really coming to all of your work on Twitter and Telegram?
I think it's 98% Twitter.
Right. And so I think one of the reasons I think people have pushed to Telegram is they can go build a Telegram group, and that's something that they actually control.
And Telegram.
And then they can push a link out there.
Yeah,
and so that's, I think, aspirationally, we'd like that for Farcaster. It's like we respect the link. It doesn't get
that's an interesting
But
angle.
we need to get enough people. So it's like this chicken and the egg problem. So if the on-chain activity drives enough people back, and then, you know, just like earlier this year with Frames and Degen, like if we get to another kind of like big peak and 10x the user base again, maybe all of a sudden it starts to be big enough that you're willing to at least put your stream links out.
See, that I like. Because I originally thought about Farcaster, where I got the hyperfixation, and I was like, I have to be like the biggest. This has to be my focus.
You got like 17,000 followers
crazy,
like that.
Fast, very
fast.
fast.
For Farcaster, that's a lot, right?
I know,
like,
it's a lot.
And you didn't none of the bots, so you got the like good
and they were
accounts.
good. This is the thing about Farcaster, is they're good follows. Like I like put some. I mean, bro, if we made a tweet right now, my Twitter replies are a fucking. I mean, it's a mess. It's not handsome bad, but like it's a mess.
All the
it's
crypto
a mess.
spam?
It's a mess. But if I were to put it on Farcaster, I get like legit replies.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is the people on Farcaster has never had an audience on Twitter. They're like, when they get one bot reply, they're like, oh my god, the network is so spammy. I'm like, why don't you try to get on Twitter?
Yeah. But that's the thing that's cool about Farcaster. My initial read was like, the people that had followings on Farcaster were like cool devs. That because what was going crazy like when I was on it was like
Christian rap devs.
That is the funniest thing ever. It's like it was like peak frame. So if you were like put out like a sick frame, it would go like super viral.
Yeah, which that's the goal with Frames V2. We want to make them even more sick.
But I honestly, I'm into this. Give it 5% and use it as like an extra distribution channel, because that I can wrap my head around. That I'm like, all right, I can like do that.
And maybe it turns into 7, 10%, 15%.
Yeah. Start chipping away.
Chip it away. All right, I just need you opening up the app. That's all I need.
Dan, I can open the app for you. Yeah, you drove fucking out here. I can open the app for you, and we're gonna make Chad do it as well. Do people need invite codes? Is that a thing still?
So anyone can sign up. Okay. It's $3 in-app purchase. We're gonna make it cheaper, and we're also gonna have invite codes because we'd have an unlimited amount of spam if we made it free.
Oh.
It's a longer conversation. Maybe next time I come.
Yeah. Do you think Twitter Blue fixes that verification?
We have some stuff cooking up there.
Okay.
I'll also get you some invite codes for your stream.
All right. Two final questions. First of all is like I don't know where is this going, Farcaster? It's fucking ambitious. You gotta. I respect you because I think you're crazy and I like it. Like where is this going? What do you need to unlock? Like what are you excited about? Like what's your sort of like wrap on Farcaster? Where we are, where we're going? Yeah,
so I'm gonna actually focus on winning crypto Twitter. Like the attention for crypto, starting with Ethereum but expanding out, is like I want all of that on Farcaster, and like that is the thing to focus on. So no side quests. Like I'm not like going worried about like people who are into politics or
like crypto.
You know, like it's like crypto. Like make the thing be the best social network for crypto, and make sure under the hood like all those like developer APIs and Legos like they just work, and so people can come up with cool things like Clanker and Anonymous and all that kind of stuff. I think the second thing is Frames V2, which we're gonna have something tomorrow and then more stuff in December. And we're going to try to up the hype every week. I think that is my goal, is to make it the single best way to interact with anything on a blockchain. Best consumer UX, and it works on mobile. So when you're sitting on the couch doom scrolling, like you see something, click, done. No like janky, like connect your wallet and get a broken, like none of that. And it just works. So that's the vision of where we're going, and if we win there, then we can think about the next mountain to climb. Do you like rehearse any of these lines? No. It's pretty good. All right, I got the last question. Chat, can we get some W's for Dan Romero for this last question? Can you give this man some love? Give him some W's. All right, last question is, can you give? Yeah, let's see. I love you. W. Can you give chat and everyone listening? There's like 600 something people in here. Can you give them some final, like, give them some like motivation, some. You haven't made it in crypto. People are out here, they're hustling. Like, how do you make it in crypto? How do you make it in life? You got it figured out. You're cooking. Just raise a crazy round. Building a company. Like, what?
What is your advice to make it in 2024?
I'll go back to something I said before. The highs aren't as high as you think. The lows aren't as low as you think. And I think if you can just wake up every day and make a little bit of progress, string that together for a decade, and I think you'll do okay.
Dan fucking Romero. You fucking Chad, bro. Thank you, bro. You're the GOAT.